Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel, Kyle Eats and Horror. I'm back with another delicious looking mukbang, and I have prepared a horror story, so let's dive right into this, I guess. Firstly, let me say what I have. I have delicious spring rolls, or lumpia, I think is what it's called in the Philippines. And then over here, I have chicken pastel, also cooked. Both of these, by the way, were cooked by our friend back at JSB Penang. I think that is how you spell it. And these just absolutely look amazing. And then I have some more chicken pastel. And my mom helped me cook the rice. So we've cooked the rice with butter because we don't have jasmine rice, so we can't get it to stick together. So we had to cook it with butter to make it sticky enough to like stick together. And then over here I have 2 pieces of chicken. This is what my mom made now, and 1 pie with spinach inside, and then just a few potato chips because I thought why not. And then she also made me this hot sauce, which I'm gonna open now. Oh frick! Oh gosh, that is strong. Gosh, okay. So she made very strong smelling hot sauce. I actually want to taste this now. I'm tasting it now so I know whether I'm going to eat it later. Oh gosh. That is very hot. Let me get into my drink straight away because gosh, I have Drink Up back from the last video. How do I do this? Okay, let me I have some Drink Up here, which I'm going to have with cold ice water. Let me just prepare both glasses so that when I want to taste this one, which is a different flavor, this one is ginger beer and that is orange, then I can just pour the water in and drink them. So I have a story. It's actually a folklore known by many. So I thought might as well tell the story because we're getting close to Christmas. In 2 months it's Christmas, and this is the spooky month. That's right. We are in October. Halloween is coming up around the corner. Cannot wait. Halloween is absolutely my favorite holiday of the year. We don't really celebrate it much here in South Africa, but I like it because all the other YouTubers, like everyone that I watch personally, does like scary related content, and I just love horror. That's 1 glass down. I'm going to be talking about Krampus. For anyone who doesn't know who Krampus is, he's basically like evil Santa Claus. But I'll get into that just now. And here we go. I am very thirsty. My mouth was burning. That stuff is so hot. I actually will have some more just now. Mainly because it adds some flavor. But like, it is hot. Gosh. I think she made that with habaneros, or I think that's what it's called. But frick, it's hot. Let me get into this. I do have a little script down here so I can just pick up on some key points. So if you do notice me looking down, that's only because I need to remember a few things. And I think I'm going to eat with my hands mostly because this is basically finger food. Let's get into this. So I think I might have left these to stand a bit too long. They're not so crunchy. Anyways, might as well get back into the story. They taste amazing though. Oh, and they smell so good. Okay, so our character comes from the Austrian celebration. This is from the Alpine region, so that's why like it rains. I mean, it doesn't rain, it snows a lot. So in the Alpine region, an entity, as some people might call him, called Krampus, and this is falling apart. Shoot. Let me quickly... Oh wow, this chicken pastel tastes so freaking good. Let me take one more before I carry on. Wow. Oh, and it smells so good. The butter really like got into the rice. So Krampus is basically like evil Santa Claus, or he's this demonic creature that you would see on a cold winter's night in the Alpine region, where it would snow very heavily on a cold winter's night. And this character He comes from like a Christian pagan rituals. He would basically see this entity walking around on a cold winter's night. You would hear his bells ringing. He wears these horrible sounding bells that would jingle every time he took a step. He was this big massive creature who had several horns, as they depicted him in many folk tales, and he would just like walk around and he would hunt for all the naughty kids around Christmas time. So this demonic creature called Krampus, this word originated from the word Krampan, I believe it was. This is a German word for claw. So this demonic creature had several horns from several creatures, and he had a goat's head. Picture a giant figure full of fur, razor-sharp teeth, elongated tongue, claws for fingers. He wore chains, very thick, heavy chains that would clank every time he walked. And you would hear his grunts late at night on late, dark winter nights while the snow was heavy. And you would hear his bells jingling at a slightly ominous tune. This evil Santa, as most people call him, would hunt. This demonic entity would stalk and hunt for naughty kids. Well, this story was actually told by the kid's parents, but he became very true as time went by. Back in the 1900s, there was firstly a bishop. He was a Catholic bishop named Saint Nicholas. So Saint Nicholas would hand out candies, fruits, nuts to all the good little children during this time period, around the beginning of December, around the 5th or so. So our Christmas is generally on the 25th of December because that's Jesus' birthday. Beforehand, Saint Nicholas would hand out these nuts, sweets, fruits, all these little gifts to the good children. And then the parents would actually scare their children, tell them stories of Krampus. They would tell their kids, Krampus will come stalk you late at night if you're not good. And on the 5th, he would take you away. I'll get into what happened with what would happen to the kids he would take away in a moment. Let me get into some of this food because it's looking at me and I'm starting to really want it. That is really good. You can really taste like the buttery in it, and then the pastel chicken. Oh, it's just so good. I like the way it's like shredded. I've never had chicken like this before. Taking a good drink of pop. Krampus would stalk the kids on late Christmas nights and he would capture all the naughty kids. He was often portrayed as carrying either a fork or a bush. So not just any bush. He would carry like a bunch of dried up dead sticks and he would use his sticks to beat the children. And he would poke the children with the forks, and he also had a basket. So in this basket, there was anything in the basket, but he would capture the kids in their homes, and the really bad kids now. So the not so bad kids wouldn't get presents from Saint Nicholas. They would get beaten by Krampus, and the extremely bad kids, they would get captured and taken with Krampus into the fiery pits of hell, where he would torture them for eternity. Parents would often use this story to scare their kids into being good so that they can get presents. And also to parents don't want naughty kids. Kids would believe this story and they would tell their friends and their friends would tell their friends. And that's how Krampus became very popular back in the 1900s. The sauce is so hot, but it's so delicious. won't be needing these. Those are just torture. Gosh, I don't know why people use them. So this Catholic bishop was Saint Nicholas, and that's actually where the origins of Santa came from. So Saint Nicholas was this old fat man who had this big beard, and guess who that sounds like? Our well-known Santa. They obviously moved the holiday from the 5th, so the holiday was celebrated on the 6th, and the 5th was when he would go hand out the presents, and he would take Krampus with him to beat the children. The naughty children. So this particular holiday is was generally celebrated in the Alpine region of Austria-Hungary or Slovenia, Croatia, Germany, Italy, those areas where it would really snow very heavily in winter. Here in South Africa we don't really have snow. People generally celebrated Krampus because they saw him as a warning to naughty kids to stay not so naughty. Filipino food really does amaze me. It tastes so good and so interesting and so different. So people would dress in ways to represent Krampus. They would have wooden masks made. They would wear several horns of different animals, long fur coats, massive belts and chains and bells. He was a hooved creature, so he had hooves similar to a horse or goat, and he had a goat's head, so people would dress their face up with a mask that represented a goat. And this was closely tied with the devil, so as time went by, the story was retold differently, and a lot of the truth of the story was lost, and people began to think it was more of a pagan ritual, and people who celebrated this were celebrating the devil. But in reality, it was just to remind children of that time that, you know, Krampus will come get you if you don't behave. I'm gonna take a quick break from the story and eat some food because it tastes so good. I'm actually starving. Now that you basically have an understanding of what or who Krampus is, let me tell you about a story that happened to this girl back in 1990s. There was a girl named Sarah, and she wasn't the best of people. She would play horrible pranks on her parents where she would fill their bed with warm coals and it would burn them as they hopped in, or she was a terrible daughter. Imagine the worst child you could ever have and amplified by 10. Like, she was just a horrible child to have. So one day, it was around the September time, around the Alpine area. This is where it gets close to getting to winter. So all the farmers, Sarah was a farm girl, she had to take her flock of sheep and she had to help them back into the barn so they could be safe and warm for winter's night. Sarah decided she wasn't going to do that. So she didn't listen to her parents, and this was the last step for her. So she, instead of taking the sheep back into the barn, she left them outside, and their parents woke up to find the whole flock dead. I'm just accumulating one big rice ball here. The Filipino auntie from JHP Penang was trying to show me this way of eating, where you hold your food like this. You sort of just push it into your mouth. It looked way more confusing when she showed it to me. So, once her parents had found the dead sheep, they asked her, oh, my dog. Sorry, my dog was barking. So, Sarah, picture this sweet little young, ages 8 to 7 girl. And she had bright orange hair, freckles. She was a sweet looking child, but she was actually quite a horrible person to look after. The parents really, they couldn't afford it anymore. So, they asked for Krampus to come take their daughter away. And Sarah was warned that Krampus was going to come for her, but she was a child. She didn't believe it. At that point, she was old enough to think, you know what? I don't believe in Krampus. Krampus, he's just this imaginary thing. He's not a real person, obviously. Oh, if only she knew. After the realization that their daughter was not going to change and she wasn't going to get better, the parents decided to call Krampus. Sorry. And so they sent a letter. They posted a letter to Krampus saying their daughter is just this horrible little brat and they don't want her anymore. And they warned her. They told her, not Krampus is coming for you. You better change your ways and become a better person or he's going to come take you away. And she didn't believe him. She didn't listen. So the sheep, that was the last straw. A few days later, September had just ended. It was the start of, not September, November. November just ended. It was the start of December. December 5th was coming along, the celebration of Krampus. And Sarah was starting to get a bit scared because she was like, you know what? A lot of people believe in this guy. What if it's true? So she went around, she started asking her friends, she's like, hey, have you heard of Krampus? Of course they've heard of Krampus. A lot of the kids were like explaining, you know, to Sarah, Krampus is this tall demonic creature with the hooved feet and giant bells and giant chains and a ram's head and several horns and big teeth and a long tongue. He would torture her. They were telling her, you know, you're screwed. They're basically saying you're screwed. He's gonna come catch you, and he's gonna torture you. And Sarah was like, she was starting to get scared now. She's like, what's going to happen to me? As nighttime came, the snow started to come in. It was a dark winter's night, and it was a very heavy snow outside. Perfect conditions for Krampus. Her parents told her, you know what, we loved you, but it wasn't going to work. She was too much. She killed their whole flock. They had no food for the winter. They were forced to rely on friends and family. Sarah didn't feel bad. She didn't care. But what she did care about was Krampus. She was afraid. And they told her, Krampus will come for you. Now, this is when the fear started to sink in and she believed them. And after hearing this, she couldn't sleep, but she tried to. So she went to her bedroom. She got on her tiny stack of hay and she laid her head down. 12 o'clock hits. Nothing. 1 o'clock hits. Nothing. 2 o'clock hits. Nothing. 3 o'clock in the night. In the morning, technically. The snow is harder than ever. It's falling heavy, very heavy. Piles of snow are collecting outside. And in the far distance, you hear the sounds of chains. Chains are clacking against each other. Sarah heard these noises. Her parents were fast asleep. So she wakes up to go look outside the window. And she can hear chains and grunting. Loud. Almost like a horse grunting. Just these heavy, heavy grunts coming from a far distance. And even though it's a far distance, it's like it's almost in her ear. These loud steps and the chains clanking against each other with every step, coming closer and closer to Sarah's house. Sarah was frightened. She was staring out the window, not sure what to do. So, what any normal child in the situation would do, Sarah decides that she's going to run into her parents' room. To her surprise, the parents had locked their door. They thought ahead. They knew, you know what, she's going to come to us, but it's too late. So they had known that Sarah was going to come into their bedroom. The stupid Hardy does back. 1 second, it'll go away. So Sarah had knocked on the door and no one was waking up, so she starts banging on the door. She's crying, she's terrified, she's screaming, let me in, let me in. Something tells me her parents were awake, but in the story it said no, they were still asleep. After Sarah realized that her parents weren't going to help her, she ran back into her room and she tried to hide, so she hid under a bed. She obviously in her head thought, this is a brilliant idea, he will never find me. The clanking of chains and bells got closer and closer until it was right outside her window. Sarah could hear the heavy breathing and the grunting coming right outside the window next to her bed. The creature, Krampus, was here and he was coming for her. He wanted Sarah. He was given a permission to take her. So as he's standing there grunting, Sarah hears the front door to their home open. Out of fear, Sarah runs out of her bedroom to the front. Well, not to the front, but to the corridor facing the front door. To her surprise, no one's there. And everyone had a chimney in this time because most people had a little fire, that would go late in the night because it's freezing and it's not modern times. They didn't have heaters, they didn't have all these fancy things that we do, so they relied on a fire to heat up their home. So the fire is crackling and the door is wide open, but no one's there. Sarah creeps towards the door to see what was there. She knew it back in her head that Krampus had come to visit her, so she walked slowly towards the door. As she looked down, she could see a pair of hooves shaped like horse feet in the snow right in front of the door leading to her window. But that's where it gets creepy, because the hooves turned around and leaded the other way to the back of the house where the chimney was. Out of nowhere, Sarah hears a loud bang on the roof. Not knowing where it was coming from or what it was, Sarah runs back to her parents' room, which is in the hallway, and out of fear she's banging and she's screaming at them to let her in, save her from this thing that's coming for her. Shoot, my whole thing fell apart. It's like smoking a cigar. Not that I smoke. My little clown. These definitely need a bit of something because they're a little dry. Not the Filipino auntie's. What's her name? Not Auntie Josie's fault. This is actually my fault because I left them to sit for too long. And I also was supposed to eat them with something to dip. Not that I had to, but just like so that they're not so dry. And I didn't because this is very hot, but might as well. Oh, It tastes very good. I wish I had vinegar. I should have got vinegar. Oh my god. It's okay. Let me quickly finish these three, then I'll continue my story. Okay, so back to story. So, Sarah's banging on the door to her parents' room, begging and crying, let me in. She's afraid for her life. She knows what's coming for her. And no reply, no one answers. They're ignoring her. Or they're asleep, but I believe they're ignoring her. I mean, how can you scream so loud and your parents don't hear? And she can hear this thing banging and crashing on its way as it crawls down the chimney. She's panicking, she's scared, she knows once this thing gets below the chimney, it's over, she's done for, it's coming for her. She's screaming, she's banging on the door, trying to kick it down at this point. She's trying everything in her power to get through. Out of nowhere, this large shadow appears behind her as the moonlight shines in through the door into the passageway by her parents' room. She knows what's staring at her. In the distance, she can hear the slight groaning, heavy breath noises coming from behind her. And then one step goes forward. She hears the clanking of the hooves on the floor, the jingle of the creepy ominous bells, the clanking of the ginormous chains that he has strapped to his body, almost as he was trying to be held down in hell where he belongs, and broke free every year on December 5th to kidnap and torture the naughty children. One hoof comes first, the clank, the chain. The second hoof comes. She can hear the groans and the grunting coming from this thing as it grows louder and louder. It's walking closer towards her. She's panicking. She's too scared to turn around. She feels a slight warm touch on her shoulder. Thinking she was asleep and she just woken up from a nightmare, she turns around with joy to be face to face with the demon himself, Krampus. His evil eyes, bright and orange and red combined, staring back at her, glowing with absolute happiness, as if he was a predator who just caught his prey. And you just see the life fall from her eyes as she looks into this creature and she realizes what's about to happen to her. She didn't believe it at first, but it's happening. He'd come for her. Well, all the children were going to wake up the next day on December 6th and celebrate video cut off, ran out of storage. So where was I? So Saint Nicholas, they were celebrating Saint Nicholas the next day. Everyone would wake up and they would be brought with the happy joy of Saint Nicholas's presence. But she knew that tomorrow she wasn't going to wake up to Saint Nicholas. She was going to wake up in hell, where she was going to be tortured for the rest of her life by none other than Krampus himself. Krampus looked at her and smiled as he pulled out 2 weapons from his basket, which he keeps on his back. He pulled out a bunch of sticks, sharp, broken, used sticks, pulled off a tree almost. It looked like a big bunch of dried sticks, because that's what it was. And on the other side, he brought a giant fork, and he used this fork to stab her in the leg, to hold her down. He slid it right through her, and you hear the bones crunching and cracking as it goes right through her leg. And she looks up in pain, she's crying, she's screaming for help, but nobody's coming for her. This creature, it laughs, this horrible grunty laugh, as it takes the stick and it starts beating her with the stick. She's bleeding everywhere. She has scratches, she has pains, she has cuts and bruises as he beats her with the stick, maliciously laughing while he does it, as she feels the pain going up through her leg into her body, the striking pain as he rips out the fork from her leg and grabs her from the ponytail. She's crying and screaming. She knows what's going to happen to her. He pulls the basket off his back and he lowers her. He lifts her up, lowers her into the straw basket which he pulled off of his back. As she's looking down, all she can see is the dark abyss that awaits her. As he's lowering her lowering her. He lets go of her one leg she has left. She's falling. She feels the heat rising and rising until bam, she wakes up. She feels the sun's glorious rays falling upon her cheeks. She wakes up and realizes it's only December 4th. The sheep are still outside, waiting to be brought inside. It is still the daytime, going into afternoon. And she realizes Krampus never visited me. So she takes the sheep inside, afraid of what might happen to her if she doesn't. Late that night, on December 5th, she's falling asleep and she realizes there's something shining in the cabinet in front of her. She gets up. She walks towards her cupboard doors, opens it to see a bell, a little bell with a red ribbon on it. Krampus's name on the ribbon. That's when it hits her. Krampus did visit her. He visited her and made her feel and think of all these things that happened to her. And this was a warning. Krampus gave her a chance. She chose wisely to put those sheep where they belong. Ever since that girl, her name was Sarah, the girl Sarah, never betrayed her parents' trust like that again. And that's the scary story, guys. So that's Krampus for you. Krampus is portrayed as this evil, horrible Santa Claus, but in reality, he's just there to teach children not to be horrible, not to be mischievous to things. He's there to help them understand there are consequences to your actions. So yeah, it's quite an old story, and it originated in the Alpine region of Austria inside. Krampus is very well known, and every year on December 5th they actually still celebrate Krampus, even though there was a lot of like the Catholic Church tried to ban Krampus at one point. A lot of people didn't like the religion because they thought they were like celebrating the devil. But people still celebrate Krampus. They still dress up in the hooves. They still dress up in the big cloaks. Even there are people who actually make Krampus masks out of wood. And these people are highly respected in these areas. Even though Krampus is a demon and all, and you should be scared of him. You should be a good person around Christmas and throughout the year, actually. He's there to remind kids that if you're not, he will come for you. So for the rest of my video, I'm just going to finish up my food. And then I'm going to say bye. Let's see how quick I can do this. 4 lumpia in one. Dip it in some hot sauce. Have some water ready in case I almost die, choke or something. Let's go. Oh my. I dropped the lumpia. It tastes so good. I'm still gonna eat it. I'm still gonna eat it. Yes, I'm still gonna eat it. Yes, I'm still gonna eat it. My brother's telling me no, I shouldn't eat it. I'm gonna eat it. Not wasting good food like this. Auntie Josie will come here and slap me if I did that. Not actually, she'll like smack it out of my hand. She doesn't want me eating food that fell on the floor. Which makes sense, but like it tastes so good, how can't I? That's so delicious. My brother's actually behind the camera. Let me ask him. Come taste this. Come. Gonna feed you some of this.
Okay.
This is a Filipino dish called chicken pastel.
No, I've been listening.
I know you've been listening, but you haven't had it. Okay, I'm gonna have you take your hand and just like grab some, okay? It's not working. I can't use chopsticks. Just do it.
Let me try.
No, you can't. It's okay. You can wash your hands. Come on down. Look at the camera. My brother, guys. His name's Marcial. Take another piece. Look at the camera while you eat and tell them what you think. What do you think? Might as well
You told
dip
me
my
to.
hands in. True, I did tell you, but I mean, you were going to anyway, weren't you? It just tastes so good, guys. What do you
Actually,
think?
it tastes good.
What do you think? Is it very tasty?
Yeah.
Have you ever eaten chicken like this?
Like that.
Shredded.
Shredded, no.
Okay, thank you. So that's my brother. He's the one behind the cameras. He basically just helps me. He pauses and starts the video, stuff like that. I definitely put too much rice compared to chicken pastel in this specific portion. I know as a mukbanger I should probably eat all the food, but like, this is all I can eat, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm just way too full now. My tummy's gonna literally explode. I hope you guys enjoyed the creepy stories this week. I need to probably prepare myself better. I'm trying to learn how to tell stories more interestingly. Any suggestions or ideas, just leave it in the comments. I'm definitely reading them and I will definitely remember them and try and do better. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. And also, if you have any like scary stories that you know of, just like leave the title in the comments. I'll go research it. It would be nice to like do some stories that maybe some of you guys already know, like from the Philippines. I'm pretty sure you also have some folk tales and scary little stories and stuff like that. Well, Krampus is coming out of me now. Gosh, sorry. Oh, by the way, before I go, I just need to show off. I have a little guy here. Nobody's given him a name in the comments yet. If you guys want to call him anything, like, let me know. I'll give him a name. I'll have a little vote. Oh, almost dropped that. And this is his friend. He's there. And then that's a crocodile. It's not real. Don't worry. It's plastic. And yeah, that's it from me, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back next week with another horror story. Hope you guys enjoy. Oh, and make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and hit the notifications bell so you know when I upload another video. Bye!